Hi, I'm Austin Wintory, and I had the great privilege of scoring Aliens Fireteam Elite. Towards the end of the project, I chose one piece of music for which I would document every step of the process so that you could see it go from this to this. So here we go. Enjoy. So the two ingredients that I've been playing with is, I think that I'm going to feature electric bass quite a lot, trying to push the sonic aesthetic of Aliens. Jumping up and down in these octaves, doing this kind of... something like that. But there's something about the slide, especially when it's on a proper electric bass. Maybe. The other thing is there's the progression that I've been working on that I like, which is this sort of... that I think is going to figure into this somehow, maybe in a very kind of rhythmically, So, playing around, I'm just using this placeholder sound of the bass. It's not going to be quite like that. I'm going to work with Tom to develop the sound. I definitely want something that's less distorted. It shouldn't feel like metal. In fact, that's what I'm finding is the biggest challenge. Is the original idea I was playing with, this sort of thing like this. That's really quite metal sounding, and I like it, but it's certainly not an Aliens piece. So I was simplifying it, and I think what I've got is something... I think that this could work. Something that's simple and rising, and it has this kind of ominous dread. Using these snap hits, I found a sample and I applied some distortion. And so I'm using that as is, actually. I'm not planning to re-record that. That'll be a nice sound to add to this kind of thing, I've spent a couple of hours working on this, trying all sorts of different things. As I suspected when I came back and listened to it in the morning, it did feel a little too metal. Also, one thing I decided to do was start with a kind of anthemic brass statement, literally just verbatim, a big announcement of that. Experimenting with just a little bit of arpeggiation. I've got the bass doing just very simple figures to start of just this 3 against 2 sort of thing, but I was working out an arpeggiator that I was programming, and I've also been programming a patch in Serum. It's not actually really meant to sustain. I think the idea is to color the bass with something higher. So I like the pulsing quality. I threw a little bit of distortion on it, and then I threw a little bit of the Octavox from Eventide I'm giving it just a little bit of a major 7th above. You can hear just a little touch. This note here when I play the G. And the idea is to give this, and I've got some other basic effects on there, some delay and things like that baked in, so that I can be doing this. Which is basically just the root of that progression. So I'm kind of introducing it in waves. See, I start sneaking in the strings here, and we just work our way through that progression a few times. I just feel like right now it's not currently set up well enough. Those horns, the trombones rather, coming in feel too unexpected. So yeah, still working it out. Still working it out. All right, it's been another few hours. For the life of me, I can't tell if I'm happy with this. Yeah, I think a big part of the problem is it basically has an intro that's taking forever. Let's just get rid of those 3 bars completely. One of the things that we're trying to do here is push forward what Jerry Goldsmith started in the original film and what James Horner continued, sort of synthesize their 2 approaches, where one was very much an action score, the other one was sort of a horror sci-fi, and bring them forward into a new sense. So there's a lot of things that just immediately feel right and immediately feel wrong. Where is our root? You know, bum 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 bum. Yeah, let's try that. Let's try that. Yeah. You know what? Still don't love it. I guess it really should just be a quick. Well, there you go. So I just recorded myself drumming on the frame of the piano. I felt like there needed to be some rhythmic elements to this. I've just loaded it up, and now I'm sitting here designing the sound, giving it some kind of slap quality. I was looking for a sound that had a kind of tactile, textural quality, but yet could be very rhythmically precise.
It's just very clean bass sound, and it has a fuzz built into it. So later, if this gets pulled in.
You know, one of the things that's so characteristic of the Alien scores is the all the delays and echoplex kind of effects that Jerry loved doing.
Yeah, sometimes I'll do filter sweeps, you know, where at bar 26, it does the low A flats, and that's below my range.
Yeah, why don't you play that whole thing up an octave, and I'll drag it down. It'll just be all the more weird. Yeah, exactly.
I can run that and do it through this. It's just going to have a different sound than the previous takes.
Yeah, all right. Actually, yeah, that'll work great.
It's the same pitches. It's almost perfect, but because it's a $50 harmonizer, it's you know, it's not a $6,000 Eventide, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the charm, right? That's the whole point. Tomorrow I'm off to Nashville for a very careful, socially distanced recording session. I just got the sheet music for the orchestral components of this piece dropped off. I spent a bit of time editing and really continuing to fine-tune the drumming on the piano that I did, and also the sort of clicking with the sticky notes. And I like how it's starting to come together. Lots of little edits in there. It's not as bad as it could be. I did play some percussion at one point in my life, but yeah. I like that there's something that's speaking very quickly and crisply with a pretty high-end overall range. I feel like that's starting to really click and feel right. The next thing I've been really zeroing in on is the bass and baritone stuff with Tom Straley, and so that sounded like this. We did another pass of just acoustic baritone, which is really great for those fast eighth note parts. Works really nicely. And then here's through the harmonizer. I'm also panning the two kind of hard opposite each other, so we're sort of enveloping the mix in the acoustic baritone, one of which is pretty thoroughly crunched, and the other one I actually have literally put nothing on it. There was a little bit of compression being added to it out of the original mic, and out of his original preamp rather, but basically not much. So when we add in the other toms, everything's kind of starting to really fit into where it belongs. The orchestra, I think, is really crucial to counterbalancing those colors. So yeah, still plenty of work to do on the production side. Tracking all sorts of percussion. From there is, of course, recording the orchestra in just a couple of days. Basses and tuba, while we're there, can you be slightly less staccato, slightly kind of rounder, boom, boom, less biting? Just a hair more. It shouldn't be a quarter note all of a sudden, but you get what I'm saying. One more time. Here it comes. 6 string to 232. I am back from Nashville, and I have since then also done a remote mix with Steve Kempster, getting all of the kind of orchestral elements blended together now. Did a little bit of additional tracking of some percussion here in the studio. While I was there, I also did a bunch of custom samples of string effects and gestures and swells. So I'm going through and I'm finding places to just help augment the transitions and things like that. Similarly, I did a recording with Noah on Tibetan horns and didgeridoo and the normal size serpent, just a few more additional growls. And then the real fun was also when I did this contest for the PATHLESS of people to remix the nickel harpa stem from one of the cues. One of the winners I chose is this guy Mikey Parsons, who did this fabulous take where I sent him the acoustic baritone and I said, I want you to just kind of manipulate the crap out of this. And I sent a few basic aesthetic guides, but I said, you know, see what you come up with. Just surprise me. Came back with wonderful sound, had a lot of cool, interesting, moving parts to it. So I sent some feedback and said, let's zero in on a few things here. And so we end up with this kind of warped and demented version of the acoustic. And that's sounding really nice. On top of that, the only part that was missing was that there's a few places, especially towards the end of the cue, where I've got some simple kind of rhythmic arpeggiation and things like that going on, and was working with this absolutely fabulous musician and composer, Joris Hoogstetter, and said, you know, can you basically double my arpeggiation and help create some interesting textures and colors of your own there.
So here we have a version of the cue before the orchestra was recorded. And when I get this project, it's my job to listen to the synthesizer sounds, think about what I could make to support the parts and not get in the way of the composition. So then I record and I create a couple synthesizer layers for Austin to mix and match to taste. So, and since we're working in the Aliens realm, we found it very important that the synthesizers should never sound static. They kind of have to feel alive and slithering and have to be moving in some kind of direction.
And one of the things I've been experimenting with as I mix this is making it kind of stir the pot and move around. So you can see I start off with the volume pretty low on the arpeggiation so that you mostly are hearing the strings chopping away, you're hearing the percussion, the sort of traditional orchestral percussion above all, and all these various layers of tom playing bass and the rest of it is pretty low in the mix. And then we kind of bring some up and others down, and it does this sort of sleight of hand where your ear doesn't really detect that. It kind of mutated into a sort of electronic piece right in front of me without noticing entirely. The only other thing that's missing is the all-important snare drum, which I'm blending a bunch of different things, including a pass that Joris actually himself played. I mostly mix with the snare disabled though, because in game the whole idea is that this is a separately toggleable element. We bring it in when we really want to kind of show the shit hitting the fan and evoke that Marshall kind of James Horner Aliens snare drum thing. It's just taking forever, and I think I'm possibly going deaf, but we're getting there. I'm having a blast. So I'm just gonna keep chipping away.